Hey, welcome to the Forgiven Soldier radio show, formerly known as the Forgiven Soldier podcast. This is season 3 for the Forgiven Soldier, and we got picked up by 90.3 WKWC. So now we're on the radio with the podcast format. So it's pretty cool. In today, I have Mr. Jordan Wilson. Everybody applaud. Okay. But Jordan Wilson is the... I always mess this up. Like, what is your title?
I am the development director of Friends of Sinners.
I always want to say PR, which is kind of the same thing.
It's similar work.
But me and Jordan's been friends for, I think we're going on 3 years now.
That's
close to 3 years. He does great things in the community, great things in his life. He's got an awesome testimony, awesome story. Currently, we are live on all platforms. Catch it whenever you're strolling through social media and stuff. But we're going to have some questions coming in, just kind of keep this flow going. So Jordan, I wanted Jordan on here because one, for his message and his ministry, it's amazing. Plus his job, the ministry of his job is amazing. So Jordan, tell the world who you are.
Yeah. So Jordan Wilson, Western Kentucky. I was a horrible drug addict and a well-known drug dealer, and I could not get clean to save my life. I got busted and, being incarcerated and court ordered to treatment didn't work for me to get clean. And it wasn't until I had a moment with Jesus to where I just surrendered everything and I gave my life to Christ. 2016, been sober ever since. So I'm coming up on 8 years of sobriety, completely
Amen.
Drug and alcohol free. And for the past 4 years, I've been the development director of Friends of Sinners, which is a Christ-centered drug rehab here in Owensboro, Kentucky. We treat both men and women at separate locations, long-term residential treatment. And I love it very much. I was a client years ago at Friends of Sinners back before my BC days, before Christ days.
So there was a video you posted on TikTok of the window that you used to look out.
Yep.
And it's a full circle moment for you.
It was awesome. Yeah. Cause I was outside the other day talking with our executive director, Joe Welsh, and I was just looking at the facility. I don't really think too much about my old dorm or nothing, but I looked up and I thought that was my window. And I remember just hating life back then. And, because I wasn't living for Christ and I was just trying to white knuckle sobriety and it was hard. And then I had that encounter with Christ and my life just started taking off, and looking forward, or fast forward to today, as their development director, it's just, I'm not the same person, man.
Yeah.
I'm not living in the dark. I'm not, trying so hard to stay clean one day at a time. That's that old Narcotics Anonymous saying, one day at a time. And, I'm truly liberated today. I've got a wonderful wife, 2 beautiful children. We own our home and we started, I published a book. We started donating that book all over the world. And so God's just doing wonderful things in my life. And I'm excited about everything that's coming. And
I wish I'd known you back when you were a horrible person, like you stated when you first got on here, just for the fact to, that way I could appreciate the celebration better with you.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I met you and you're already sober. You're already into it. And I still celebrate that, but I wish I knew where you came from. But the reason I say that is because if you read your book, you actually are in the shoes of what you used to be like and what you went through and what many go through. And many are finding salvation through your book because there is a way.
Man. And that way is Jesus, right? Like, I went to a revival when I was just 1 year clean, and I'm telling you, Brian, I have been on fire for the Lord since I gave my life to him. That fire hasn't gone down. It's just growing and growing in that relationship with Christ. I cater to it every day. I have to. But when I was 1 year sober, I was, I was single and a friend of mine knew that there was a revival going on some Friday night or something. And so we went hungry for church, and we went, and this pastor this was in Central Kentucky. The pastor they had speaking at this revival flew from Oregon. So I don't even know how far away that is, but it's far, I know. And he had never heard my story. He didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about him. And this pastor called me out of the crowd and made me come forward. And I was like, oh no, what's going on here? And he says, God told me that you're supposed to write a book, your story, that people need to hear. It's going to help them. And he didn't know my story. He didn't know that I was a crazy dude in addiction, with a horrible past. But I never forgot. I never forgot that he said that. I did believe that it was a word from the Lord, and I was going to honor that. I just didn't know when the right time was. And so I waited until 2020 when the pandemic started. Several of us directors had to work from home. And so if I had any downtime, I would just put my thoughts on a Word document. And a year later, man, we had a book.
So I write songs, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the hardest things is like I have an idea. I have an idea for a song, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good song, Yeah. And then I get the paper out and the pencil because I'm old school, right? And I like to write it down. That way I can erase it and put notes and stuff. And the problem I have is finding the first word.
That's it.
Like, how do I start this? This amazing thing that I think I came up with. How do I start it?
Yeah.
So how did you find the first word?
Well, so I knew ever since I realized, hey, I'm actually going to do this, I knew how I would start it. And it was basically, I should be dead. Mm-hmm. I should not be able to tell you my story. Or at the very least, I should be in prison, and writing this down on a notepad somewhere.
Napkin somewhere.
Yeah. But by God's grace, I'm alive and I have a story to tell. And my heart really is for the addict because even in America, man, we've reached an all-time record of overdose deaths, over 100,000 annually. And so I even gave a stat that says by the time you finish reading this book, X amount of people will have taken their last breath due to addiction. And that's if you're a fast reader, and I found the way out, right? Like the way out found me, and that's through Jesus. And people, man, we live in now I know we're in Kentucky, man, so we live in the quote unquote Bible Belt, but many places, man, even in our own state, when you say Jesus, people get turned off, because it's, I think that's a great deception of the enemy, man, is to make people just not believe it or to have watered it down so much by people just saying it, not walking it out. But the truth of the matter is that God is real. He does love us. He does have a plan for us. And we can be completely healed, restored, and redeemed through his son, Jesus. And I finally surrendered to that nearly 8 years ago, and I'm free now. And so I have the key, and I'm not one of those quiet Christians. I went hard for the devil, right? So I'm going to go hard for Jesus. And the way I see it, man, is if I had a terminal cancer and I found a doctor who found a cure for my cancer, what kind of person would I be if I didn't tell every cancer patient about that doctor?
That's right.
That's what I'm doing.
That's a good analogy.
That's what I'm doing, man.
Never heard that.
I'm free, and there's a lot of people out there that are still struggling with addiction, and there is an answer, and it's Jesus.
Yeah.
But you got to fully surrender.
It's and a lot of people, and the pastor said it yesterday at church, there is a lot of people, like you don't get saved and you don't go to heaven by religion.
Right.
You go to heaven by coming to Jesus and giving your life to it. And that's, that's a problem in itself. People think that like you have to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah. Right. So, and I think that's what saved you. That's what saved me. That's what saved a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we're doing an injustice if we don't share it.
That's right.
If we don't disciple to everybody we possibly can.
And that's what we do at Friends of Sinners, right? Like, from the outside looking in, you would say, okay, that's a drug rehab. Well, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Right. We're a discipleship program. We're a ministry. Our goal is to lead our clients out of addiction and into a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's some people, it's a bad stigma when you say, Friends of Sinners, like, oh, that's that drug
rehab. I know, right?
Like, no, let's praise that place because that is, and there's some people that don't make it.
Yeah.
Do the program.
Sure.
And I get that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be fully committed to it. But there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that when they leave that place, and I know a couple of them that leave that place and have a career and they have now they have a real relationship with their children and a real relationship with their wife where they didn't have before.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Dude, I have some of our greatest supporters, and when I say supporters, I mean they donate financially, are alumni.
Yeah.
Because they came in with nothing and they've got their whole life back now. and they've gone on to do exceptional things in business and ministry. And they're just so grateful, man. Like I was literally, I do fundraising for the ministry and I seek monthly donors because that's how we're able to do what we do. So I was looking at some of the numbers and I was just blown away by some of the alumni's financial donations, man. I mean, it's mind boggling. And it's just because they're so grateful. Like, hey, if I didn't come to this program, I'd be dead, or I wouldn't have a relationship with Christ. I'd be doomed, So it's
So I want to talk a little bit more about your story as well, by sharing one of my stories. So
let's go.
When I got deployed to Iraq, rewind a little bit. So when I was growing up, we didn't go to church. My family didn't go to church, but I would go to like youth events in town because a buddy was going, and they're like, "Yeah, come to this youth event."
Yeah.
Usually it's to chase some girls,
right? Yeah,
that's usually the thing. So I would go to some of these events, and I knew who Jesus was. Like I believed that he was real. I just didn't want to give the time to really have a relationship with him. Right? Yep. It was always like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. So fast forward, I get deployed to Iraq in 2003. Okay, so I go over there. So you're going to war. Basically,
right, yeah.
I was a young kid, didn't really care, was ambitious, was that adrenaline. I was looking for that adrenaline rush, and it was all that and above.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting there, and my mom, of all people, had sent me some music, and I'm a big music fan. It kind of shaped my life. That's kind of how I cope. I listen to music, I write music, I play music.
Yeah.
So she sent me Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine. Never heard the song in 2003. I never heard it. So I had a little CD player.
Yeah.
Put it in the CD player, put my headphones on, and I have pictures of me having this headphone on. That's the only CD I have. I didn't even have a CD player. She sent the CD player. She sent the CD.
Oh, wow.
So I put the CD in there and I listened to it nonstop, repeat. I Can Only Imagine. And, when I was over there, and I tell people this all the time. So I got baptized when I was over there.
Oh, wow.
But it was not really, because it was almost like, hey, I just want to make sure, right? I just want to make sure, let me get baptized. I didn't really have a relationship with God. I was saving me. I was trying to save me. And, but that song was a staple of it. So fast forward a little bit, further, I struggled with anxiety and I didn't know why. And my mind was just racing and everything. And finally somebody, talked to me. It was my sister-in-law actually. And she's like, you need to give your life to Christ. She was like, Jesus will save you from all this. Will help you from all this. Just give it to him. And it wasn't until then I went to the altar and I'm like, I'm giving it all to you, Lord. You like, I want a relationship. And I truly was saved on that day. Not the 2 times before that, because everybody else was doing it. Yeah. So that song, I Can Only Imagine, was the pinnacle of my faith, the foundation of it. Because I'd always think like, man, what would it be like? Yeah. Right. Standing up there in front of them and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Yeah. So what, you sent me a list earlier. Yeah. And what song really was the foundation of this is how I want to live my life? So
I know I sent you songs.
Let's talk about the Celine Dion one.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up.
I did.
That was a joke.
You knew I was going to bring it up.
I did. I knew for sure, 100% you were going to bring that up. So for you listeners, my dude Brian here asked me for 5 songs that kind of relate to my life. And I sent him some, recovery songs, obviously Christian songs. But then I also sent him Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. And I did that as a joke.
But now we're going to talk about it.
But now we got to talk about it.
Because it's on your heart.
It's on my heart and it will go on. Yeah. But anyway, man, I tell you this much. When I was in rehab 7 years ago, I became an intern for this program. So I would work for them and I was also a client. And so I got privileges that most clients didn't get. And one of those privileges was I could be in the office by myself with internet access. And so every morning I would go into the office and that would be my quiet time with the Lord. And I would get on YouTube and I would just search, worship music, not knowing what I would find. It's 2016, right? A lot of the music was elevation worship, and it was just live music, live recorded music of people just worshiping God, man. And that brought me into the presence of God. I've always been a fan of that music since then, right? just about anything elevation worship, because anything that's truly worship, you know, I love. I'm not big on pop. I'm not big on these, you know, pop songs, but anything that's truly getting the person who's singing like out of the way, and with the focus attention on Christ, on God, is man, that's my jam.
That's a good point. Like there's some songs on there where you watch it on YouTube and you're listening to the song, you forget somebody's even singing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not about the musician. It's not about the artist.
That's right. That's a good worship song. So that's a good break right there. Yeah. We're going to cut into some music, a little station ID. This is new to the podcast, so enjoy it. We're going to listen to My Heart Goes On by Celine Dion. We're also going to throw in a little rescue story by Zach Brown as well. It's not Zach Brown. It's Zach Williams.
Zach Williams.
Sorry, Zach Brown. We'll play Chicken Fried a little bit later. Yeah. But this is the Forgiven Soldier radio show. All right, welcome back to the Forgiven Soldier radio show on 90.3 WKWC. The first year that this podcast has made it to the radio, so I'm super blessed. I did try a Forgiven radio show. It was like an actual radio show where, you know, we played music and we talked about the music and the artist and what the story meant. And then I did a little scripture reading and a little preaching pretty much. And I told Derek Hancock, I'm a name drop him. Derek Hancock, the director here at the radio station manager. I don't really know what his title. I don't do titles, as you can tell. But so I was talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, you get on there and preach a little message. It's going to be on Sunday." And I'm like, "I'm not a preacher." I was like, I don't. I mean, God has His own plan for sure. But at this moment, I don't think the plan is, Brian, you're going to be a preacher, because I say a lot and I get stumbled on my words and my head is all that. So anyways, we tried that. It wasn't working for me because I was a robot and I was like, "Hey, welcome," you know, the radio voice. It wasn't for me. I was like, so I came to him again. I was like, "What do you say I just bring the podcast to the station?"
Yeah.
And we do the podcast. So he's like, "Okay, let's see what you got." So that's what we're doing. You're the guinea pig, brother.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think it's going to go well. So you just got done listening to My Heart Will Go On.
I cannot believe you did that.
I did. My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, classic. And then Rescue Story by Zach Williams, not Brown, which he put. But so this whole season, I wanted to talk about the music side of me. And so the first season was about my childhood and where I came from, Hancock County. If anybody's from Hancock County, shout out, go Hornets. But then also Breckinridge County, because I got in trouble as a kid and spray painted the whole town of Lewisport with a couple buddies. I won't name them, Matt and Mac. And then, so I moved to Breck County. So I had an interesting childhood for sure. My dad was a soldier, so I was an Army brat, so I got the taste of that side of it as well. Then the second season was about my veterans, my brothers, and everybody I served with, and that was very special to me, just because we lost a brother during that season, so that one hit hard a little bit. And then this season, I want to talk about the music side of it. So
cool.
When people think Jordan Wilson, they think music.
Yeah, right.
For sure. And I try to get him to play guitar in here because I know he can play it. He wouldn't do it. He didn't even bring it. But what are some other songs that kind of, you know, you had the foundation, My Heart Will Go On. What is kind of like the building blocks of that? Like, what kind of music does Jordan Wilson listen to? So
I typically listen to all Christian music. You know, back in the day before I was walking with the Lord, I listened to a lot of secular stuff and a lot of cussing and glorifying drugs. And
I had that list too.
And things like that. Yeah. And I just can't do it anymore, man. It affects my spirit. And I'll give you a little story. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's what we do is stories.
Story time. Yeah. I was at the gym, man. I was probably about a year sober, maybe 2. Anyway, I was at the gym. That's one of my things. I lift weights, and I don't know. I was in a bad mood. I was in a weird headspace that day. So I said, I'm going to throw in some Kevin Gates and just go hard at the gym. And man, like within the first few minutes being at the gym, listening to that music, my attitude changed, right? Like I wasn't in a good headspace and I was thinking negative thoughts. And so I said, no, I'm done. I'm not going, I don't care how bad my mood is.
Insert Kirk Franklin.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I'm not going to listen to this. So anyway, I found when it comes to the gym, I listen to mainly just beats like dubstep, as long as it's, not cussing or anything like that. But other than that, I listen to a lot of Christian rap. I got a friend of mine, ASAP Preach. Yeah. He's putting some big stuff out. I actually get to testify with him in a couple of weeks. I'm going to Oklahoma City, but that's maybe another story. But anyway, a lot of Christian rap. But as far as like get closer, like in my time with the Lord, it's going to be stuff like Maverick City. I like Maverick City. Yeah, Jireh. Yes. He is enough. So that Elevation. Then of course I listened to Zach, not
Williams.
Zach Brown, Zach Williams.
I listen to Zach Brown too.
I mean, I've listened to him. Yeah. I'm not a big country.
And I mean, he can pick the guitar like no other person I've ever met.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But anyways, go ahead.
But what's crazy, man? Yeah. So I listen to a lot of Christian stuff, various artists, Crowder.
I love Crowder. I love his vibe.
Crowder's been doing it for a long time.
He has. And then it wasn't until he got that beard and that homeless look, people started listening to him. They're like, this man's got something to say.
Yeah. The worse you look, the better people are going to respond to your
they're
music.
like, he knows a little something about something. So.
But, yeah, man, I think I'm going to the concert that's coming in Owensboro next month for King and Country.
Yes.
Pretty excited about it. It's going to be at the Sports Center.
Yep. Our youth is going from our church, Crosspoint Baptist. Shout you guys out.
Yeah.
And then me and Sarah, we're talking about going too, but it's at the Sports Center and it's like a small venue and they're super loud. Have you ever seen them?
I've seen them in person.
So their drummer is amazing.
They go hard. Yeah.
They go hard for Christian music.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. So we're still thinking about going.
Well, you know what? I actually messaged them on Instagram.
I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah. Really. Why not go for it?
Why not?
Now they haven't read the message.
I've done this too. And we are connected in something that kind of happened.
Come on, man. Well, exactly. So I messaged them and I was like, listen, it would be a dream come true if I could testify at this concert in my city for 5 minutes.
Did they write?
They never responded.
Well, let's get on it.
So we need to, hey, everybody, message for King and Country. Say, look, Jordan Wilson needs to speak for 2 minutes. I'll take 2 minutes. Let me talk about Jesus, Friends of Sinners, and one more thing.
Yeah.
My books.
You can actually do it in 30 seconds. Like the elevator speech, dude. 30-second elevator speech.
I've got a speech for every time frame.
Yeah. Because you never know how much time you're going to have. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
So anyway, I was a friend of mine, George Rose. He's a Christian rapper. Shout out George Rose. He asked me to testify for like 5 minutes at his concert like a month ago. And as obviously I said yes. And when I was up there, man, it was a bunch of kids in the audience, but it was a big crowd. Like it was cool. And I just felt in my spirit, man. I believe it was the Lord, but that God was letting me know that I was going to be doing a lot more of that kind of testifying. That kind of
music
crowd.
Christian music puts you in a headspace, and that's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to pray as you're singing, and Sarah, my wife, talks about it all the time. Like pray this to God, and it doesn't have to be this big number and be the object. Just pray to it, so that gets you in the headspace to receive a message. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it felt so good, man. Like when I did that. And that's when I reached out to my friend who does music, ASAP Preach, and he's like, hey, come to Oklahoma City, testify at my concert. So I did that, and it was awesome, man. People came to the altar after. And, you're going to promote it as a concert, but really, bro, like it's a ministry, right? People are going to come. People are going to get saved. People are going to get delivered, all in Jesus' name. So the music will get you there, right? But Christ will set you free there.
Christ will set you free.
That's the whole point.
They'll lead you to the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead you to the water.
And so, what's cool is Friends of Sinners, part of my job is not only fundraising, but also marketing. And we've got 7 Day Slumber coming. we've got 7-day slumber coming.
Yeah.
And at Matthew's Table Church. And so that's huge. And I'm going to be able to speak there. And God's just got a bunch of stuff in the works. And what's cool is I never thought that it would have anything to do with music. Cause I'm really not a musician. I know you say, I know a few chords, but that's it.
He posted a picture of him playing guitar and when I called him on it, he couldn't play it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can strum 3 chords. That's it. But I never really thought that my testimony and like concerts would go together, but it is, man. And it's all for God's glory.
I tell you what, some of the greatest songs are written on 3 chords.
Hey, well,
Beatles lived their life on 3 chords.
Hey, well, all right.
A lot of country artists as well. Me as well. Right. So you have some questions. So we're doing a TikTok live. Jordan is at this moment. So we have some questions coming from TikTok. Let's find a couple questions.
So someone asked, they said, how did your wife feel about addiction? That was the question. It was, how does your wife feel about your addiction? And so I met my wife when I was 2 years clean and sober. I was already going strong toward my career goals and obviously in love with the Lord. So she respected it. Like she understood that was a horrible part of my life that I've been completely redeemed from. But you know what? She's a trooper though, because she never experienced addiction, but her family has. And so she understands. But when I met her, she had just graduated college with her master's and, she drank in college. And so once she met me, she completely stopped drinking. She never had an addiction to it.
She quit for you?
She quit in respect to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And she hasn't had a drink since. And she loves it. She always comes with me when I share my testimony and she'll take pictures and sell t-shirts and stuff. And so she is a great supporter. And I mean, when you're in ministry, man, you need a spouse it's okay to be single in ministry, obviously. But if you're married in ministry, your spouse needs to just be right there with you.
That's it. And Sarah's the same way with me. And I don't have a so-called ministry, but everything that I've brought to her, like my ideas, she usually she is so hard on me about stuff. And so I know it's true. I know it's like coming from the heart when she says, hey, I really think you got something going on here.
Right.
And when we started Veterans Empowered together, there's a couple buddies, we got together. I came to her and was like, hey, this is our idea. She's like, this is an awesome idea. Let's go. So she created a logo. She created all this stuff behind the scenes. She never wants to be in the forefront. But if you don't have somebody backing you, then you ain't going to go.
And plus, my wife is smarter than me. So that really helps.
Mine too.
Right?
Mine too. Yeah.
She can filter stuff for me, and she helps me with my ideas and we just complement each other because we're opposites, truly. I'm an extrovert. I'm super outgoing and ambitious. And I mean, not that she's not, but she's an introvert. She wants to be behind the scenes. She doesn't want the microphone. She doesn't want any of that. And so we do complement each other well. Like she created our website.
Yeah. And that's the thing, Sarah. So me and Sarah are kind of the same. We joke around. We like to be funny and all this stuff, but we know each other's times. Yeah. Right. It's like, okay, it's my time to take a step back.
Right.
And let them have it, So that's awesome. Good story.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Any more questions on there?
Somebody just said, how can we meet up with you? Well, I do a lot of speaking engagements. So if you wanted to book me, you could get on my website. I almost plugged Friends of Sinners.
Plug it off.
Yeah. So you can book me on JesusIsGreaterThan.org. So we do that. Of course, if you're local, I'll speak at your event for free. I do want to testify, but if I'm going to have to travel, there is a travel fee. So get on friendofsinner.org.
Get on Friends of Sinners. Just check out some.
And then of course, if you're interested in supporting Friends of Sinners, get on friendofsinner.org, and we can go from there.
All right. Well, that's a good time to take another station ID. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to leave you with For God Is With Us from King and Country and a little Gyra from Maverick City. You're listening to the Forgiven Soldier radio show on 90.3 WKWC. All right, welcome back to the Forgiven Soldier radio show on 90.3 WKWC. So that's my radio voice.
That was good.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I got Jordan Wilson here with me. We've been talking about his recovery, his addiction, his recovery, and just paying it forward through all these ministries that he has. So we talked about Friends of Sinners. We talked about Jesus Ministries in his book, which is
Jesus Greater Than Drugs.
Jesus is greater than drugs. I always look at that signal like Jesus over drugs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But whatever it sells. So we've been talking about that. We've just been talking about the foundation, the music foundation of spiritual life and just life in general. There might be some out there who are not spiritual, who doesn't like Christian music or hasn't been plugged into a church necessarily, but more importantly, has never had a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I ask you this. You have somebody who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. What do you tell them? What do you say to them?
Yeah. So I would never try and force, my beliefs on anyone else. But what I would say is that I've been there, right? Because there was one point in my life to where I started wondering if there was a God, and then I tried to get sober on my own terms, right? Because I was tired of living that way. It wasn't for God. It was for me. I was tired of losing things. I was tired of my family being disappointed. I was tired of being a junkie, if you will. And so I tried and I could not do it. I was no match myself. I was no match against my addiction. I was incarcerated and court ordered to treatment. I did therapy. I did medicine. I did all of that. And for years, and it never worked. And then someone did invite me to church. And I said, I'll take it seriously. And I've been sober since that day. So there's got to be something to it.
Yeah.
And for someone to just disregard it because of whatever, they just choose not to.
Or they don't get it.
Yeah. If somebody would have told me that drinking sour milk will get you sober, I would have tried that. I would have done anything to get sober, right?
Does that really help?
It doesn't help at all. It probably would make it worse.
Did you try that?
I never tried it.
So you don't know if it does.
I don't know, but I'm sober now, so I don't need to. Yeah, right? But what I'm saying is have an open mind, right? Just have an open mind. Even people that are openly pagan, right? But they're trying to get sober. They say you need to have something to believe in. Mm-hmm. That's why AA and NA, they say if it takes believing in that doorknob as your higher power, believe in that doorknob.
I believe Poison from the 1980s had a song, Give Me Something to Believe In.
Well, there you go.
They knew.
But what I'm saying is have an open mind, right? Have an open heart. And what's the worst that could happen? And giving it a try.
I know what it's done for me. You know what it's done for you. Mm-hmm. There's people out there that they have no idea. Yeah. They have no clue. So that's good that you said, I'm never going to push my beliefs on anybody other than you should love your veterans, because I truly believe everybody should. That's the only one I'll push on you and really disagree if you don't. But everything else, like I will do my best to disciple, and I'm going to keep on doing it. If you don't get it or you don't want it, that's okay. I still am going to try. Yeah. And tell you about tell you about Jesus and what he's done for me. If
I don't tell you, then your blood's on my hands. I'm serious, man. That's right. That's a fact. Like I will be judged by God if I know this truth and do not share it with others.
That's right. And there's a couple close friends of mine that every week I invite them to church and they always tell me no. Yeah. I'm going to keep on inviting them. Yeah. Because not that I want them there, just, I want them to hear the message, but I also want them to take the step too and say, you know what, I'm going to try it out. Right. And then hopefully Jesus is calling me to ask him that. Right. And hopefully that leads to something.
Right. You know what's crazy? You was talking about some people just don't know. I was talking to a friend of mine who's saved now. He's living for the Lord. He's doing great sober. But he told me back when he was, I think he was in prison or he was in Addiction 1, but he was not walking with the Lord. And he had met with a Christian. And he said, listen, I know God's going to send me to hell. This is what my friend was telling this Christian. He said, I know God's going to send me to hell for all the bad things I've done. I said, wait a minute. And when he was telling me a story, I said, wait a minute, you're telling me that you didn't know that Jesus could save you from all of that? You're telling me you really didn't know that out of all the horrible stuff, no matter how horrible it was, that of all the junk you've done, you didn't know that you could be redeemed? He said, no, I really didn't know. He knew about God. He knew about Jesus, but he didn't know the power of it. He didn't know that all he had to do was give his life to Jesus, confess his sins, repent, to turn from his sin and turn to Jesus, and that he'd be washed clean, debt erased. He didn't know that. And now he does, right? But I think that that's really important for us as Christians to talk about that, is like, yes, there is a God. Yes, there is his son, but let me tell you what he can truly do for you.
And what he doesn't do is send you to hell.
He doesn't.
You do that. We do that.
Exactly.
He redeems you.
Yeah.
If you come to him.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's our call to the altar. If you are wanting to learn more about Jesus Christ, please reach out to us. You can find us at Friends of Sinners, Jesus Ministries, 90.3 WKWC Facebook, Forgiven Soldier Podcast. Reach out to us, and we will be there for you.
Absolutely.
And to help you with that. So we talked about earlier, you reaching out to King of Country.
Yeah.
So again, if anybody's listening, do you know their names?
Oh, their personal names?
Yeah,
I don't know their names.
Well, if you know their personal names, let us know. But if you just reach out to them, tag Jordan Wilson in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever social media he has, and get him to testify at the Sports Center.
Oh, man, that'd be crazy.
He just needs 30 seconds. 30 seconds to testify and share his testimony. That'd be amazing. But we were talking about how you reached out to him through the Instagram and tried to get in contact with him. So there is a friend of mine, Mike Ford. If you're listening, love you, buddy. And I was going through some anxieties. So my whole life, I've never been afraid to get in front of people, talk in front of people, sing in front of people, as bad as it was. I'm a karaoke king.
Oh, man.
No fear whatsoever when it came to that. All of a sudden, I started having anxieties about it. Don't know where it came from. I would just get like shaky up there and feel like I was going to pass out and didn't want to do it. Like I didn't get excited to do it anymore. I'm getting better. And working on that. Anyways, I was going through all that, and Mike Ford said, "Hey, I got 2 songs you need to listen to, and by yourself, just turn them up and just listen to them." I said, "Okay, all right, whatever." I didn't listen to them. I didn't, I wasn't in that right mind frame.
Yeah.
And so this went on for about a week, 2 weeks, and he's like, "Have you listened to that song?" I'm like, "No, I haven't got a chance to." He's like, "You need to listen to that song." I was like, okay, man, like calm down. Right.
Yeah.
So finally I went over to his house to drop something off, and he came to my window of my truck and he's like, "Hey, did you listen to that song?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I'll listen to it tonight." He opened the door, got in the truck. He's like, "Put it on right now." I was like, oh, okay, I'll put it on. So I put it on, and he's like, "Close your eyes. Don't say a word. Just listen and talk afterwards." I was like, okay. So I closed my eyes, sitting in there in my truck, and the song, like it was just on my heart the whole time from the first word.
Yeah.
And I was like, this song is amazing. And I just felt a calm over my body.
Wow.
And I remember telling him, I was like, I appreciate you for showing me the song. And that next day I went on a rabbit hole of this artist. And it's like, what else has he done? Like, let me listen to all of his stuff. He's on TikTok. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's everywhere. Like, if you look for him, he's there. So I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know what your song did for me." And one, pretty low point in my life. And he gave me a call the next day. And he's awesome. Like, "Hey, thanks for writing. Like, I'm glad, he was saying you got a good friend and all this stuff." So the guy's name is Stephen McWhirter, and he sings "Come Jesus Come." Just like Jordan, I think this is where we're alike. We have big ideas. Our heads are just always going. So I came up with the idea of bringing Stephen McWhirter to Owensboro. And the first person I called was Jordan Wilson, because the testimony, you can check his testimony out on his website of Stephen McWhirter's. But his testimony kind of matches up with Friends of Sinners and with you. Super excited about Stephen McWhirter coming, but so what was your whole, like, when I called you and said, "Hey, this is my idea"?
Oh, I thought it was brilliant because like I said, man, we're only able to do what we do through our supporters and churches. So your church, man, and you and your church, Crosspoint Baptist, booked him. You booked him, paid for him to come, which is just so kind. but you're going to throw a free concert.
That's right.
For friends that benefits Friends of Sinners. And the way it's going to benefit, is you're going to take up love offering and give it to Friends of Sinners. But I just thought it was brilliant, man. It was thinking outside of the box, and it can bring our community together and a good church, right? To where if they're looking for a church, they can find
That's
it
right.
there.
We'd love to have you.
If they need help, there will be resources there,
Yes.
and then hopefully bring in some support to the ministry that we care so much about, Friends of Sinners.
That's right. So Friends of Sinners, I guess I'm allowed to say it's all over Facebook. So Friends of Sinners is getting a new facility.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So we went down there and listened to the presentation and a tour of the facility, and it's going to bring so much more Friends of Sinners into the community of Owensboro.
Yeah.
Where more activities, more in-house stuff, keeping them off the streets a lot better than what's happening right now. So they need support. Friends of Sinners does, because they are a nonprofit. So any church out there who's listening, any pastor, any youth director, we're having this free concert August 25th, Friday at Cross Point Baptist Church, 550 Worthington Road. Stephen McWhirter, if you don't know who he is, you better get to know who he is, because his music will change your life for sure. We're going to have a free concert. We're going to have a love offering for Friends of Sinners, the facility of it. And like Jordan just said, there's going to be people there to help you. If you're looking for a church, if you're looking for an organization to be a part of, Friends of Sinners is top notch.
Yeah.
One that I would support, just because you might not be going through addiction or recovery, but somebody in your family is, or a friend of yours is, and they need that place to plug into, to one, have a relationship with Jesus Christ, but two, to clean yourself of addiction and know that you don't need that.
Yeah.
So
talking about like people supporting us, we had a volunteer just pass away recently. Her name was Mary Ann Shelton, and I met her. She called our facility 2 years ago, and I intercepted the phone call, and she said, I'm a retired teacher. I don't really have a lot going on, but I would love to volunteer my time to help you any way I can a couple of days a week. So I brought her down and met with her in my office. As I do, I got to vet everyone who comes in. And I just love this lady, man. She was so sweet. She loved Jesus. Her husband passed away years ago. She didn't have any children. So she just wanted to be a part of something. And man, she came in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She would answer the phone. She would leave notes on our desk, so-and-so called, and she would do filing. But the best part is, man, she would love on the clients, man. And that was like her grandmother. She would just listen to them. No judgment whatsoever. She ain't never done a drug in her life, but she would just listen to them and love them. She passed away recently. And what's cool is about a year ago, we gave her an award at our banquet for Volunteer of the Year. And she is a behind the scenes lady. She doesn't want any recognition. She was so not embarrassed, but taken back by it, But that plaque was in her casket when I came to her.
Well, I got cold chills right now.
And so like our supporters, man, they just become like family. Like this woman was family. She became family. And that's the kind of ministry that we have, right? Whether you're a client or a teacher or a volunteer or staff member, we're a family at Friends of Sinners. We all love Jesus and we all love each other.
That's awesome, man. And that's why I've never had an addiction, never had a problem. Well, tobacco and sweet tea.
Sure.
That's my addictions. But I never had that on my heart. I've never been weighed down from that. But I do, I do have a passion of seeing people succeed.
Yeah.
I want them to come up. I want them to be out in the world and doing something great. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, I wish I knew you before that, so I could celebrate even harder. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But if you read the book, you do get to kind of embrace that Jordan BC, right?
Yeah, before Christ.
And I would tell you this, the Jordan Wilson after Christ is an amazing man doing good things for the community, for his family at Friends of Sinners, for his actual family, his wife and 2 kids. So check him out. He's on social media. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He's on TikTok. Yeah. What else are you
YouTube.
on? YouTube.
I'm banned right now from YouTube.
He's banned from YouTube because he keeps on talking about Jesus.
Yeah, come on.
It's crazy to me. But yeah, check him out. Check out Friends of Sinners. Check out JesusMinistries.org. Friends of Sinners, is it .com? .org as well. I appreciate you being here, man. I really do. Thank you for being on the show. Last words from Jordan Wilson.
Oh, man, Jesus, man, it's the best decision you'll ever make. So today, get alone with them, talk to them.
That's it. You heard it here on Forgiven Soldier radio show on 90.3 WKWC. We are going to leave you with Come Jesus Come by Stephen McWhorter. God bless everyone.